There's the give right at the middle, and big hole by Franklin. He breaks it. He's gone. He's gone. What is he going to catch him? 40, 30, 20, 15, 10. He's gone. Touchdown. All right.
Welcome, everybody. This is News Radio 1400 KTEM. I'm Alan Roark, and we are here live from Wings, Pizza, and Things on HK Dodge and Loop in Temple, Texas, with tonight's edition of Inside Wildcat Football, which is the weekly coaches show with the Temple Wildcat head coach, Scott Stewart. Before we get to Coach Stewart, though, tonight we have a special guest, the new radio voice of the Temple Wildcats, Mr. Play-by-Play, Joe Palmer. Joe? Yeah, everybody give Joe a round of applause. Joe, so this is your first season in the Wildcat press box, and I know that because it's mine too. But how did you get there?
To the press box, there's an elevator.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Okay.
That's true.
Yeah,
and those steps, that's a long way up
I
there.
would not go up the steps. I don't know. There's just a series of circumstances. As we talked on the radio a little bit, Alan, I've coached for a number of years over at Waco Midway, which was kind of interesting the other week when we went back to play over there. I told the folks that week that I probably coached the first game that was ever played on that field, and probably lost, because
well, we don't have to look that up.
Well, if I remember right, we always played Marlin right at the first, and they beat us almost every year because they just had so many good athletes. But started there, and then through different schools and so forth, wound up as a principal. Actually, was a principal out at Salado for a number of years, I guess. Went there in '95 and left Salado in 2008 to come to Temple. And we've lived in Temple since '85, but this is the first opportunity I've had to work here. And came as assistant superintendent of human resources. And this year, things just kind of changed up. I'd done a lot of color with Jim Cooper and a couple other guys at KTM back when we did Belton games, as well as UMHB when they first started out. So, in any case, they asked about doing it, and I thought I was just stupid enough to say yes. And I forgot how tough it is, and as well as how much is expected here, because it's a big deal. It's a big deal, Wildcat football and that blue front and white back. So I've worked every week to try to bring my game up, but man, they play fast. There are no huddles, and it's incredibly hard as far as how fast things happen on that field. And to be real honest with you, first I thought it was my eyes that you couldn't see some of these things, but when we went to Midway, I could see everything. And so I'm beginning to kind of wonder a little bit if the Booster Club shouldn't throw some money in there for some new lights on that stadium, because it's not as bright as some of the other places we play, in case you hadn't.
I noticed too, and I think that's on the list.
Good.
We'll have to talk to Joe Olivares about that at some point. But, anyway, you grew up not too far from here also.
I did, and actually, if I get a chance to share anything tonight, that's what I'd like to share with the folks out in the community, as well as here in Pizza Wings and things. But I grew up in Gatesville. My family, there were 5 Palmer boys in Gatesville, and some of them are still there. But grew up with 3 older brothers and 1 younger brother, and basically in Gatesville, Friday night was a big deal. Old Home Stadium, those around here may have gone to Home Stadium before, and it was one of those that, of all things, the visitor side was covered. And some folks may remember those old stadiums that were built by WPA, and the visitor side would be covered, and the home side was not covered. And the weird thing about Gatesville was we were on the east side. So we always faced the sun as the home team, and the press box was on the west side, and that was the visitor team. So I never could figure out why we were on that side, but from the time I started playing in junior all the way through, that's how the field was set up. But terrific turf. It's one of the great turfs, just like kind of Woodson down here, or Dutton Street in Waco. Some folks may remember the old Dutton Street stadium in Waco. But what's interesting about my story is I was as a kid growing up, I had great folks, but one of the things they would always say is that don't plan to go to college. I know that you want to, but don't plan on going to college, because we can't afford for you to go to college. And so I felt like athletics might be my way to get a college education, like a lot of our kids are. I mean, that's how if they're going to be able to afford to go to school, a lot of times it's going to be through some type of help through sports. So I graduated from Gatesville in 1966. This will be our 50th reunion this year.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. It's hard to believe. But I graduated in 1966, and when I actually graduated first in my class, and there were more than two. There were actually about 120. And so I graduated first. So I had some opportunities to go to some of the state schools like Tech, and I think he got a letter from UT, but there was this girl that I knew in Gatesville that I didn't want to get too far away because she hadn't graduated yet, and I was afraid if I go too far off to school and I come back, she'll be gone. And
right.
so I really wanted to stay close to home to go to school. So I wrote a letter to Coach John Bridgers, Baylor University. I wrote that letter in about April of 1966. He actually wrote me back and said to come visit sometime. We had on the senior team that I played on in Gatesville, we got beat in going to the playoffs by Austin Lanier. They beat us the last ball game of the season, so we were out of the playoffs, and that's back when one went.
Right.
There wasn't any 1-9 teams going to the playoff back then.
Right.
And so we didn't get to go to the playoffs because Austin Lanier had beaten us, and so but I was interested in trying to play. We had 3 players on that team went to Rice to play football. 2 went to Baylor, 3 counting myself as a walk-on. We had 1 go to Oklahoma State back in the Big Ten back then, and 1 go to Texas A&M.
Wow!
And was a starter as a freshman. And so and so you got about 8 or 9 kids in a 2A high school going to play what we call now Division I football.
Wow.
So the only reason I was any good is because I was on a team with a lot of good players. But what was interesting, because this is really a God thing that is part of my testimony, because I do have what I believe is a very strong faith. But what I did was that we graduated, and I made a valedictorian speech on a Friday night. On Monday, I got in my old car and drove to Waco, Texas, pulled up to the old Baylor Stadium, went inside and said, I need to talk to Coach Bridgers. He told me to come talk to him. He sent a guy named Jack Thomas, who's one of his, I believe is a defensive coordinator, sent him to talk to me, and we went to the campus. I had not applied because I didn't have enough money to apply. I'd not
you had to pay.
Yeah, you had to pay to apply,
right.
and I didn't have money. And my folks said they're not going to help; they can't. So I went in there with Coach Thomas. He took me. Before the day was over, I had gotten a partial scholarship. I had gotten a room. I'd gotten grants, and I'd gotten loans, and I'd gotten accepted, all in one day.
Wow, that doesn't happen like that anymore.
No, and so no one in my family had ever been to college. So and no one, I don't remember anyone at high school ever telling me, here's how you do it. And so they told me I had opportunities to go places, but they didn't say here's how you do it. And so I didn't know to ask. And so from the point of filling out an application and writing a check for $15 that day, that's how I got into Baylor University.
$15.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And so out of that, I kept my grades where they were supposed to be. I did what I was supposed to do, and 4 years later graduated. I think 13th in the class is how I was ranked.
Wow.
And from that went immediately from there to coach at Midway High School. I was supposed to go there to coach baseball. But the superintendent told me, said, if I've offered the job to a guy, so if he takes it, you'll have to do something else. But if not, then I want you as baseball coach. Well, the guy took the job. His name is Ken Beverly, and he's there forever and did a terrific job, which I have no idea what I'd done if somebody had told me I had to coach baseball, because everything I knew I had to do with what I'd played, not what I'd been taught.
Right.
But I was smart enough at Baylor to get a degree where I could teach math, English, and science. Because my advisor, Dr. Packard, told me, said, if you're going to be a coach, don't get PE and don't get history. Because every coach is either PE or history. And so I said, well, I'll just get the rest of them. So I got enough classes to do all the rest of them. So
wow.
That's
covered
my story.
Everything.
It did. And, had it not been for the Lord, putting the right people in my life at the right time, I would not have gotten anything. I hope Coach is on the way because my story's getting short here.
Well, we
need a break.
He should be on his way. We're about ready for a commercial break.
We have a first down, Las Vegas Jeweler first down.
Yeah, that's right.
That work?
No, but we do have a new sponsor.
Oh, who is that?
Las Vegas Jewelers.
Oh,
all right. For the Coach's Show?
That's correct.
Awesome.
So as well as Wings Pizza and things, we also have Las Vegas Jewelers sponsoring our show.
That is correct.
Well,
I'll say this about them. I've been wanting to say this every night, but we never have a chance. If any of these knuckleheads in this place need to buy jewelry for their wives, don't go to one of those nickel and dime stores.
Right.
Go to Las Vegas Jewelers. Because, number one, you're going to get the same deal, and number two, you're going to get the right kind of deal. My wife lost her set and her ring, and, man, we've been married 46 years, so when she lost that, and she lost it at my son's wedding, of all places, to lose your wedding ring.
Oh, wow.
But in any case, I went to Las Vegas, and that was the key thing, and they took care of us. Those guys are terrific down there, and just as competitive as anywhere else. So
that's where my family have always gone for decades. So I'm very familiar with them, and they are the best.
Get the heck off of this chair.
We'll be back soon on News Radio 1400 KTEM with more Inside Wildcat Football.
And now more of Inside Wildcat Football with Coach Stewart and Alan Roark.
Thank you very much, Darren. We're back here at Wings Pizza and Things on Monday night. Also, I want to point out that after Inside Wildcat Football, we always have a session with Coach Stewart where he goes over film of the previous week's game. And that's hosted by the Temple Quarterback Club, and that's also open to the public. So anybody that wants to come out after Inside Wildcat Football is welcome to come break the game down with Coach Stewart, or at least watch Coach Stewart break the game down. So welcome, Coach Stewart. I guess Friday night we played Cedar Ridge, and what kind of thoughts do you have on that game?
Well, I thought we played our guts out. That's a team that was averaging 49 or 50 they were winning 50-3 in the previous 3 games, and they talked to their coach afterwards. He said they had a couple of starters, maybe 2 or 3, that even played a snap in the second half. So they've been beating people 50-3 just in the first half. And I mean, we didn't play as well as we wanted to. I didn't challenge our kids out to go out and play well. I challenged our kids to go get in a fist fight. I told them if they didn't fight against them, they were going to have to fight against me. So that's the God's honest truth. If they weren't going to go out there and willing to get in a fight, because Cedar Ridge is a team that they're aggressive. They play right on the threshold of what's appropriate and what's not. And I said, if we don't go match that, you will fight me when we come back in this locker room. And we had 5 personal fouls, and I couldn't be more proud of it. We got at some point, you know, we got to clean that up. But I learned a long time ago it's a lot harder to teach. It's a lot harder to teach giddy up. I'd rather teach whoa than giddy up. And I was tired of teaching giddy up. I didn't feel like we were as physical as we needed to be the first 3 weeks, and I feel like we went out and got in a dogfight. We got beat. We lost the game, but we didn't lose the fight.
I tell you what, I mean, from up in the press box, it looked like our intensity was there, and it looked like our players played hard every single down.
We were trying to play well the whole season, and I told them to get out of that mode. We were trying to play well. We were trying to do things right. Let's go get in a fight, and then let's learn to play football in the meantime. That's old school football. That's championship football. That's, you know, at some point we forgot to bring our big boy pants and start swinging elbows, and that's where we're going to be. We're going to build off that. We'll get better now. We got a chance to get better now because we've been in a fight now. We had too many nice guys, and you know, I wasn't nice to them all week, and I hadn't been nice to them this week either. But we're going to continue the physical thing. We're going ones-on-ones in practice. You know, people say, well, that's not very smart if somebody gets hurt. Well, if we don't do that, then we're not going to be very physical, and then I'm going to be irritated anyway. So I'd rather take a chance to get hurt and be the most physical team on the field than I would play patty cakes and make sure everybody's healthy.
Well, no kidding. And like you said, that was a good football team that we played. And something that, well, I'm sure everybody in town that was listening or at the game watching saw that long, sustained drive where our boys looked like they absolutely controlled the line of scrimmage all the way down the field.
Yeah, it's in them. I've told them time and time again, if they ever meet the man's inside of them, then we'll be all right. If they'll ever meet that guy, you know, because some of them are still holding on and kind of, again, they don't want to screw up, and you can't play this game. You can't go through life. I mean, go try to be a dad, and then go try to be a father, and then try not, you know, do that job, try not to screw up. I mean, you're spinning your wheels. So, you know, you make a decision, you see what you see, you make a decision, you go fight your guts out, and whatever happens, happens. And we finally kind of broke into that realm a little bit. We got to get a lot better, no question. There's a lot of stuff we can clean up. You know, I think if we played as hard as we did, I think if that's who we were, if we'd played that way for 3 weeks, we'd be sitting there at 3-1 right now and talking about we just got beat by a good football team. Instead, we're looking at wounds from 2 weeks in a row, but I feel a lot better after this week than I did last week.
Well, you know, I agree with you, although I'm not the coach of the Temple Wildcats, but you know, a lot of things actually stood out from this week. I mean, first of all, Jemiah Franklin.
Yeah.
He had a heck of a ball game, 163 yards rushing.
Yeah. Against a good team. I mean, this is a team that's giving up 3 points a game. So,
10 total points.
10 total points
in
on the
3
season.
weeks.
Yeah. So, you know, to come out there, I mean, we would like to score more than 14, absolutely. Could we have helped them do that, shorten the field on special teams and defense? We absolutely could have. We didn't play well enough to win. And if you don't play well enough to win against a good football team like that, you're not going to win. But there are some bright spots. There was some physicality there. I mean, you know, I know that our defensive line versus our offensive line, we gave up about 70 pounds a man. You know, and that all that's excuses if that's reason for your failure. I don't think we failed. I think we lost. I think there's a difference. You know, kids were tripping over the lip after the game. I said, guys, you didn't score as many points as they did. That don't make you a loser. Failing, you don't have to accept failure. You do not have to accept failure. But you're going to, you know, one of the kids said, I can't take another loss. And I said, son, you're going to take so many more losses in this life. You think you're going through the rest of this life that the good Lord keeps you here with no losses? You're crazy. But you don't have to put up with failure. Going out and fighting your guts out, going out and defending what you believe in, going out and playing with your heart for your team and for your coaches and for your community, that ain't failure. You may not win every football game, but that ain't failure.
No kidding. And that's something that everybody in town saw Friday night was heart. That was a team with a lot of heart on the football field that night. There were some other things that stood out. I mean, we had some guys. Obviously, we had some guys with some good games, and Jemiah Franklin stood out on offense. But once again, our young defense played a heck of a ball game.
5 sophomores, so I was very proud of those guys. Again, I mean, I've always heard that you know you might as well count up some losses on the record if you're starting sophomores, but it'll pay dividends. We played 16 games with 3 sophomores 2 years ago, so. You know, sophomores don't scare me. We're going to put the best people on the field, and I don't care if there's a 9 next to your name. I don't care if there's a 12 next to your name. I mean, a number's a number, and if you're charged with getting out there and defending this community, then that's what's going to be expected. You know, again, I treat them a little bit differently. I kick gloves, the sophomores, a little bit more than I probably do seniors, but I was real proud of them. We have a 182-pound defensive end that's 15 years old and went up against a D1 tackle and got his butt kicked sometimes, but, I mean, I was proud. Gutsy kid, gutsy performance, held his own, just kind of got outmanned at times.
Yeah. Antoine Holiday, is that who you're talking about?
No,
I
was talking D'Ashton Marita.
Marita?
Antoine Holiday, sophomore linebacker. I mean, Deuce President, sophomore outside linebacker. I mean, it's just the hits keep rolling. But, I mean, there's no teacher like experience. That's the best we got, and that's who we're going to play, So I was real proud of those guys. I was real proud of our seniors for stepping up and trying to – I mean, you got to show somebody how to go get in a dogfight, especially against a team that – I mean, when you go out there, it's like – I'll tell you this. I mean, I played – I guess it's 33 games. That's probably the best football team we played. Alito, by far, was the best team going into yesterday, just across the board. I know that George Ranch had some dudes, and I don't take anything away from them, but Alito was the best football team we have played, in my opinion. And Cedar Ridge, that's a close one. I mean, between which one was better. And they were big, they were physical, they were solid at every position, and they just had some dudes. So, I was proud of our kids. I don't like losing. I hate it more than any human on earth, but you're not going to win every game. So,
well, Coach, we're going to go ahead and take another short break, and we'll be back live from Wings Pizza and Things on News Radio 1400 KTEM. And we are back at Wings Pizza and Things with more Inside Wildcat Football on News Radio 1400 KTEM. Along with Wings Pizza and Things, tonight's show is also brought to you by Las Vegas Jewelers, over 50 years in the jewelry business on 31st Street in Temple, Texas. Well, Coach, we talked a little bit about Cedar Ridge. That was last week. This week, we start district.
Yes, sir.
We start a new season against University High out of Waco, Texas.
Yes, sir.
What are your thoughts on this week's game against Waco University?
Well, I mean, again, my focus has always been, always will be, if the Green Bay Packers bring their butt down here, it's going to be about Temple Wildcats. So we're going to focus on execution. We're going to focus on, we've delved into the street fight thing a little bit. We've got to get better at that, and we've got to get better at football within that mindset. So, I can sit here and tell you about University, but our focus is going to be on us. They haven't won a whole lot of games lately, and I told them today, if this team's 60-0 their last 60 games, or they're 0-60, I mean, we've got to do us. We've got to go out there. We've got to be the most physical football team. We've got to execute. We've got to pound people off the ball. We've got to be willing to get in a street fight. We've got to take the street fight to them, and the score will end up where it is. I will tell you that, they're a very athletic group. They haven't won a whole lot of games. They hadn't figured out that little piece yet. And again, a lot of that's mindset. You know what I'm saying? They play hard. They're in that same mode where they're trying to go get in street fights and throw blows. They went from 2 years ago, just every score was just completely lopsided, to last year's a little closer than this year. I mean, they've lost a 38-35 game. They lost a 59-30-something game. I mean, they've given up some points, but they've scored a lot more points. So, they're not anybody to be overlooked. You can't do that in today's game and today in this league and anywhere. I mean, it'd be foolish to think they're gonna come into town. We're just gonna roll anybody over. we hadn't won a game in 2 weeks, so in my opinion, our back's against the wall. Temple hadn't lost 2 games in a row in a long time. So, to me, it ain't about what their record is. It's about putting our backs against the wall and punching people in the mouth till they pass out.
And you talked about them scoring a lot more points this year. How are they getting that done? Who is scoring those points?
They've got a little running back. They got a junior. He was a sophomore. He was one of the newcomers of the year for the district last year, so he's not a slap. And he's a junior now. And they've got a senior running back that's real good. They got a real big core. They're really athletic. Their skill positions are really athletic. And they play hard up front. I don't know how big they are. They're going to be 240, 250 up front. They're not just going to overwhelm you with their size, like we've seen the last couple of weeks. But they're good. They got a good little scheme. They roll outside zone. They run gap scheme back inside to partner off of it. And so we're going to have to fit it up. We're going to have to be physical up front. We're going to have to control the line of scrimmage, and it's going to be the same thing. They've given up a lot of points, so we're going to have to go take what they give us on our offense. We're going to have to go take what they give us and make them pay for that. I went back and watched last year's game. We didn't go out and just physically just beat up on them. We scored the first 3 series or whatever, 4 series in a row. It was 28-0 before anybody got in their chairs, and that changes the mentality of the game. And that's kind of what you have to do. That's kind of the thought process that was Cedar Ridge's MO, and they didn't get out on us that quick, and it turned into a football game. We've got to get out quick or try to, and try to put them in a situation where they got to play catch up early.
Yeah, no doubt. So I guess another question this week would be, and I don't know if you want to say this or not, but is Taquan Graham going to be back this week, or how's he doing? How's Rogers Franklin doing?
Both of them are day to day. It'll be a Thursday. It'll be a game day decision. Right now they're doing what they can in practice. I'm never going to take a kid and that's all kind of I'm going to say about it. I'm never going to take a kid and risk him for further. If it's a sprained ankle and you can't get any worse, then get your butt out there and play on it. And pain is pain. But if it's a situation where it could get worse, I'm not going to put a kid in and be susceptible to injury. So it's just day to day. We'll leave it at that.
Okay, and we saw that Reed Hess took a few pretty good hits on Friday. How's he doing? Is he doing okay?
He's sore. He got beat up pretty good, and when you're 155 pounds, that tends to happen. But he'll be fine. He's good to go.
Kid.
He's tough. He's a real tough kid. So we got to try to, if we're going to sustain him, we're going to try to limit the beating that he takes. But it's football, so this ain't a nice guy's sport. So I think we'll be all right with this. We'll play. I'll tell you this: whoever's healthy on Friday is going to show up. We're going to put him in a uniform. We're going to go out there and try to hit somebody in the mouth. I promise you that.
Well, if it was anything like last week, I tell you that's what we're expecting. And I know I'm happy it's another home game.
I've heard it was a fun game to watch. I didn't have a whole lot of fun, but I heard it was a pretty fun game to watch.
It was interesting. There were a lot of things I saw that I hadn't seen before. I saw a lot of walking back and forth by the men in stripes, but we don't have to go into all that.
Yeah,
but,
I'd rather not.
Well, Coach, I would like to thank you again. I know you have a busy schedule. I really appreciate your time on these Monday nights, and I know people on the radio love listening to you. So we will be back with you again next week, a little after 7 o'clock.
We get off the field at 7 on Monday, so I kind of scattered over here as soon as I could. I just want to tell everybody out there that we love y'all too. It's an honor being a part of this nation. It's an honor serving these kids in this community, and we're going to right the ship. We're going to go back to old school Wildcat football and try to hit somebody in the mouth and see what happens.
All right, Coach. Well, thanks a lot once
Yes,
again. This is Alan Roark, and this has been Inside Wildcat Football on News Radio 1400 KTEM, brought to you also by Las Vegas Jewelers. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.